Hello, and welcome to the North Coast Journal Preview. This is a show where we take a look at what is coming to the current edition of the North Coast Journal. I'm your host, Tanya Shrum, and we are joined by North Coast Journal's managing editor, Jennifer Fumiko Cahill. Welcome.
Hello, Tanya.
Well, I hope you're full of holiday joy and ready to ring in the new year.
I have to say that for the past decade or so, it has less been about ringing in as it has been ringing out.
Indeed. For about, say, a decade.
It's been rough. And, you know, we had a couple of issues of the journal where we were like, I believe we had one where the year was just being like flushed. And we had another one where it was being set on fire. And
this one can get shot straight into space.
But I have to say, as rough as it can feel, because we're coming up against the finish line, right? We got to run through, not to. As tough as it can be, we had some good stuff this year. So there are a couple of positives in our annual top 10, and I'm kind of pleased. At least it ain't all bad news.
Well, fill us in on our final cover story for 2025.
All right, when I said it wasn't all bad news, I didn't mean that it was all good news. But some of the things that are included in our top 10 stories of the year are positive. For example, we have had a comeback, a really nice comeback story. And I speak here, of course, of the Klamath River. And it has been about a year since the dam removal, and we knew that it was going to be a long recovery. We knew, hearing from experts, that it's not just a matter of letting the water flow, it's a matter of bringing back wildlife, it's a matter of getting the silt to settle, everything. The banks have changed, all these things need to find a way to restore themselves and each other with our help. And it has been, to me, surprisingly successful in a short time. It is really something to see, as Kim writes in her wrap-up of the story, especially the local tribal nations, including the Karuk and Yurok tribes. It has been a generational, multi-generational effort, and to see the fruits of it are really something. Salmon are coming back. It is after Kopko number 1, Kopko number 2, and Boyle and Iron Gate dams came down last October. The first salmon was spotted in the Klamath Basin area since 1912, when the dams were first installed. It gives you chills, right? You feel a way of life has maybe a way of returning. And it's something, when I see these old photographs of people just standing on the banks of the river fishing, and, you know, you hear tell of how the industry was, how Native people were using the salmon as a staple, and you think, how could that happen again? But it is kind of amazing. So far, Underscore Native News, which is a great organization that we've shared from before, announced they were seeing salmon swimming upstream, bald eagles flying overhead, increased bear, beaver, otter, and osprey activity, which that
maybe
happened.
You need a beer to celebrate.
Maybe you do. I mean, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot of different species coming back because, as we know, when we were talking about abalone just recently, it's a domino effect, but it's also, I guess, a domino effect when things are coming back, when things are put right. So that's been a really lovely story to see. It's been a nice culmination of all the work, like I was saying before, but it's really wonderful to see this come back when so many other things are so dark. So take a moment to enjoy it.
It's definitely with all of the other, heavy things to consider in this past year. This has been a light in the darkness and inspirational not only for our community, but other communities that are now poised to attempt to do the same reclamation and tearing down dams.
Yeah, when I think about the fact that this is just one piece, right? This is just one area. It is a marvelous thing that Humboldt County has been a leader in land back, in restoring these rivers. It's really great, and I'm hoping that the success of this project will spread personally.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate that we started on a high note. What other stories are we going to be reviewing from the year?
It ain't all roses. And one of the toughest things that happened is still very recent. This is not in the Wayback Machine for us, but the SNAP scare. Having people's SNAP benefits dangling over the edge of a cliff was not great. And the impact that it had on people, again, it's always a domino effect. It's never just one thing happening. Really, really hurt our community. Already, organizations like Food for People and St. Vincent de Paul, all these places that are meant to be a safety net and help people with the most basic human right of being able to feed yourself. Those places are imperiled by budget cuts, really having budget deficits, losing different programs that help them feed folks, and having the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which used to be called food stamps, but having SNAP not work, right? People were scared. They were thinking November 1st, what is going to happen to me? How am I going to feed my family? Having that hanging over folks was traumatic, and it did have impacts. 30,000 people, including children and the elderly and disabled, are using SNAP in Humboldt County. It's incredible. And there are 20,000 participants, but remember how families work, right? If one person's a participant, they're feeding multiple people. So the domino effect was very real. The funds were released after going to court, but some of it was diminished, and it was really just terrifying. And it reminds us that these local efforts that we have, places like, for example, Food for People, they have a lot of local support. Humboldt is amazing for being a place that doesn't have a tremendously high income, but does have a really high rate of making donations and helping each other out. That is more important than ever, both on an individual scale and in terms of being able to donate if you can. Remember, cash is best because they can basically buy wholesale. They can buy more than you and I can at a grocery store. So anyway, that loss, I hope if anything good were to come out of it, I would hope that it is how seriously we take food insecurity on the North Coast.
Absolutely. And it was heartening to see all of the high school students that were getting involved in food drives and how the community responded to try to fill that gap.
I should mention too that since there are changes to eligibility in 2026, that scare is going to be very real for a lot of folks who may not be eligible for the assistance that they've counted on so long. I will take you back to something slightly more positive, and that is bears. Not beers, but bears. In 2024, we lost Noni, R.I.P. Noni, and this year, Isheng came to the zoo. You may recall Isheng is named She Likes to Eat.
She thick.
She thick. Our girl does enjoy a meal. Good for her. And she's made steady progress getting her health improved. We're not going to talk about her weight because we don't do that. But she has improved her health with enrichment exercises and things like that. She is described as friendly, curious, and a sweetheart. I know. She's one of those bears who is unreleasable. You know, people say like, oh, how come you don't just let them live out in the wild? She's too connected to people, and it would not be safe for her to be out in the wild. So that's
and
part of it.
Her health concerns too with her coat.
Right. And so I'm not great with this name, but nicknamed Naboo. His name in Wiyot language in Sodaluk is He Bites. But Naboo was also brought in, and now we've got more bears in our world. And
Dare
again,
I say a sleuth of bears?
A
Because
sleuth.
I just learned that last night. Group
Not
of
to
bears
mention-
is a sleuth. Why? Who knows?
somebody came to sleuth out the sleuths as well, because
That's
you may
right.
remember the viral story of the wild bear that came to check out the zoo bear habitat. I mean, I don't know, that's just fun. I saw on our Instagram somebody posted this really sad thing saying like, oh, these poor bears must have felt so trapped while this wild bear is being wild. And again, it's worth remembering that these are not bears that could survive out in the wild, not safely, and so they're living the best bear life they can here at Sequoia Park Zoo, and go visit them if you get a chance. We also, speaking of animals, I know you were not sad to see horse racing go. I know. A lot of people were. It's a big tradition in Humboldt County. I know you don't love it for the horses, and I totally get it. This year, in the fair's 129 years, it's pretty much had racing just about every year, and no dice this year. The effort to make racing happen included trips with board supervisors, trainers, and even a letter from Guy Fieri touting the fair and the importance of horse racing to the fair. Horse racing, mind you, is not just a tradition for the Humboldt County Fair, but it is a big moneymaker. So not just the betting, not just the admission to the fair, but also the concessions, the bar, all those things make money. So it's a big drop in funds for the fair, which still came out in the black this year. And they are going to try it again. Could be a long shot. I don't know if it's going to happen, but they're definitely going to give it a shot in January, I believe, to see if they can get racing dates. Most of the racing has moved to Southern California, so I don't know how likely it is, but they're definitely going to try.
Well, I wish them well, and if the community supports it, then I keep my mouth shut.
And if it doesn't happen, then you and I go to see the hobby horse race with the Kinetic folks again, right?
Exactly. That's kind of my that's kind of way more in my wheelhouse. It's kind of like instead of greyhound racing, I love wiener dog racing. That's just fun for everyone.
They do wiener dog racing?
Yeah. Yeah. I down when I lived in the Bay Area, there were special like wiener dog days where they would all gather and race their dachshunds, and I'm here for it always.
I can't believe I missed that.
I mean, this is Humboldt. I don't know why we don't have a banana slug race, you know? Like I want to sponsor that, you know.
I love to see it because I too am short-legged. And so I can appreciate the athleticism of keeping up with the long-legged.
Absolutely.
When you and I walk next to each, because you're a tall drink of water, when you and I walk next to each other, I'm over here.
Yeah, but remember, Jennifer, you have a much better center of gravity. there's a price to be paid for the long legs.
Well, I mean,
And
okay, so
that's
pitch.
bad back.
I say we pitch the Dachshund races and possibly train for hobby horse ourselves.
I could get in on that for
Yeah,
sure.
I will be writing English. See you there.
I'll keep it Western. Yeah.
But if
All
you want to
right.
see the whole top 10 stories, it will be on stands and also online at northcoastjournal.com. And we are always eager to hear feedback from folks about what they think should have been a bigger story or what they think was an impactful story, what they agree with, disagree with, etc. We always want to hear from you.
Well, and I love this, Jennifer. We're giving them just a tease, but I encourage everybody to pick up this week's journal so you can get all of the look back at our top 10. And then we will also be revealing something else that you're just going to give us a bit of a tease.
We know that when the top 10 list comes out, I looked back and I realized that we have been doing this for 9 years. Not this show, but the annual list of the top 10 dick moves of the year. And I want to take a moment to go back and look at the first dick moves that we did. I was joking in our newsroom meeting when we were just complaining. I believe we were complaining about, I think we were complaining about some really sketchy elder care in the area. And we were talking about how it's just extra wrong to take advantage of the elderly and that it's a real dick move. And I was like, maybe we should have a top 10 dick moves of the year. And then all of a sudden we were like, well, why won't go ahead and write it? And I was like, I guess I'm doing that now. So, and it is
And
great
now it's a
fun.
tradition.
It is a tradition, and it is
The list no
actually,
one wants to be on.
you would be surprised. I will get to that. But it is a thing every year when we get together the top 10 stories at the same time that we do dick moves as we go. And sometimes they overlap, sometimes they don't. And this year we were sitting around the table and we have a list of like 15 different stories for the top 10, and we whittle it down. We think, well, can this be combined? Should these two be separated out? We'll think about a story that got a lot of interest, but it's not necessarily an impactful story, right? Nothing changed after that. Or if we, for example, are thinking about a story that is a holdover from the previous year, should we still make that one of the top 10 stories if it's continuing to have an impact on the county, etc.? And we try to look at the depth and the impact of a story as we're looking at our top 10. For the dick moves, we are looking for something else. These are not the worst things people have done all year, sadly. These are the things that qualify as particularly a dick move, which in popular parlance means something where you didn't have to be a jerk about this. You could have let it slide. You could have been cool, but instead, you chose maybe spite, maybe selfishness, maybe ego, maybe petty revenge, or maybe you just picked on somebody who was not your own size. Punching down will absolutely get you on the dick moves list.
It also could get you an appointment to the current administration. So, hey.
Again, this list is local. There is no way if I went
If we
national,
went
there's
wide with this, yeah, exactly.
no way am I getting it down to 10. I don't know how you even do that. But another thing that I love about this is the suggestions. As soon as there's like a little chill in the air, people are like, so, what's going to be on Dick Moves this year? And I'm like, I don't know. People are still making those moves out there. I gotta stay ready. But people make suggestions like Sometimes people make national suggestions, and I have to remind them that we keep it humble. Sometimes people make suggestions like, my neighbor, his wood pile is an absolute disaster. Like, and you're just like, this is not how it works. Some of them are things where it is a huge crime or a huge, scandal, but it isn't always a dick move, right? It has to be petty. And so we look into these things and try to weigh them by that. Some of the ones that are contenders, and you will have to pick up an issue to see this year.
For the reveal.
Yes, for the reveal. Some of the contenders were like, for example, we've had some supervisors accused of really blowing up at their staff in an inappropriate way. Unnecessary. You don't have to act like a child in the office. Nobody from my work say a word. But we also have some things like, I don't know if you remember, but on the 3rd of January, we were just barely into the new year when somebody stole the Special Olympics torch and a bunch of other equipment out from a storage facility. And
they were making sure they were making the list right off the bat.
I mean, they went in early. They went in with a big one. And I got to say, that's one of those things where it's like, I get it. Robbing and stealing is your job. But you were just a criminal before. You didn't have to make it a dick move. But there you go. And I also, I'm not going to give away too much of the list. And I see that we just have a minute left. I do want to tell you a secret, because as we are recording this, he does not know it yet. But Dave Brown from production here at the North Coast Journal has been dying to make the list, and I have been denying him because, well, I'm a bit of a dick, but also I have been denying it because he is the sweetest person. He is the nicest, most polite person. He just never does anything offensive, and it's been a no-go from the beginning. But earlier this year, you may have noticed one week as you were doing the crossword that someone, Dave, left off the last clue. The very last clue. Across. Missing. Just no clue. And there you are with an almost complete crossword.
That's madness.
Was it an accident? Can you only keep that kind of darkness inside you for so long? It's tough to say. But he made the list this year. Nobody say anything.
I appreciate somebody applying themselves. Yeah.
Hey, I've been on the list twice.
I mean, shoot, even poor Thad made the list.
Thad made the list. He's a contender this year for leaving us.
Right.
Remember that.
That's true.
You think I can't reach you from here, Greenson? I can reach you.
I don't know if any of that was petty or spiteful, but
That's the problem.
She might change the rules just for you, Mr. Greenson.
And then I put myself on the list next year. It's fine.
Excellent. Well, that completes our time for this week and almost for this whole year. The current edition of the North Coast Journal will be available on newsstands tomorrow, the first day. Pick it up, read it cover to cover, and get the clues of who pulled the dick moves. You, of course, can find everything online at northcoastjournal.com. I am Tanya Shrum. Thanks for being with us all year round and staying informed and supportive of our North Coast community. Happy New Year.